Good morning, everybody, or afternoon again. We just can't seem to get it together because we're pretty undisciplined. I'll just, I'll just leave it at that. We're just pretty undisciplined. So I was here I was here earlier, but I was trying to light battery operated candles instead of lit candles because I'm afraid of burning the building down. I'm trying not to do that. Anyway, welcome to Amazing Love Sanctuary and the second Sunday event. And it's something that we have really looked forward to and recognizing and understanding in our own fellowship. We have a couple things coming up, not only the first Sunday, the 4 Sundays of Advent, but the next one we will do will be on the 21st, another special evening, and it's winter solstice. Yes, and we're going to do Blue Christmas. We did Blue Christmas last year, and it was just really a special moment and time. And we'll get some blue candles here. We want to invite you to, if you've experienced a death in your family or something tragic in your life, we recognize that Christmas it's always about celebration and lights and all that stuff, but sometimes it's difficult to put yourself in that place where you're feeling grief and it's hard to feel connected to a Christmas celebration and a tree. And so if you came for, I was going to tell somebody this week, looking for Christmas decorations, that's it. I don't know if you can see it on the camera, but that's as far as I'm going to get. We put some wreaths on the door, and we have a big tree, but last year the tree stayed up till end of February, so because I wasn't going to take it down, and nobody would took it down, and it just stayed up. Okay, so Joella, all right, so we will never have that tree again. So make sure you get the little lights that go with it in the storage closet. It's the second Sunday of Advent, and we're going to talk about love. And it's always one of the high points when we do Advent, because we also recognize the pagan aspect of the holiday season and Christmas, and we also recognize the Christian aspect of it as well. So we, as an interfaith church, it's really our passion that we are open to all of those aspects of this holiday. I wanted to start off with, because it's love, there is a version of the Bible, and there's a passage of the scripture called, in 1 Corinthians 13, we call it the love chapter. It's really funny because I always have a lot of people that want me to read that passage, and even though it's from the Bible, it's not necessarily it doesn't come across as Christian, but they really like it because of the message. And I found this version in the Passion, and I really like it. And in fact, I went and read it at almost all of my weddings, because it doesn't even matter whether they're religious, but it's a beautiful reading. So in of the second Sunday of Advent, and then I'm going to say a prayer to Reverend Joella. Love is large and incredibly patient. Love is gentle and consistently kind to all. It refuses to be jealous when blessings come to someone else. Love does not brag about one's achievements nor inflate its own importance. Love does not traffic in shame and disrespect, nor selfishly seek its own honor. Love is not easily irritated or quick to take offense. Love joyfully celebrates honesty and finds no delight in what is wrong. Love is a safe place of shelter, for it never stops believing the best for others. Love never takes failure as defeat, for it gives up. Love never stops loving. Until then, there are three things that remain: faith, hope, and love. Love surpasses them all. So above all else, let love be the beautiful prize for which you run. So that's from the Passion Translation. And in my own recommendation as a pastor and simple-minded theologian, don't waste your money on the rest of that Bible. It's the only thing I like is 1 Corinthians 13 in there. But if you're a theologian, you probably wouldn't like the rest of it. We have a prayer book that we use here called by Mark Sandlin, The Progressive Prayers for Progressive People. And so Joella has chosen a prayer to start with, number 20. Good and queering God. As we look at the world, many issues rest heavy in our hearts and minds. We get frustrated and angry at the way things are going. At times, we wish for some divine and immediate intervention. And when we don't see things happening the way we think they should be, we can be quick to dismiss the divine rather than to look to our larger connection to each other and the way that the connection along with love creates something larger than any one of us. We must work to stop our selfishness and our quick anger. We must remind ourselves that love will work with us and through us for peace and hope. We must release ourselves from the traps of our here and now and learn to see the big picture of the power of love which spans all of time. We must continue to knit back together the brokenness of this world through our acts of loving kindness, and we must remind ourselves that while the world can be seriously flawed when it is filled with love, not only can we find healing for ourselves, but we can create safe and healing spaces for others, also in need. And in that, there is hope. Amen. All right. Joella, top love.
I almost said as well. Love. So this is kind of my favorite topic to talk about. Unless you're talking about psychology and how to heal and grow. That's kind of a big one for me too. Over the last few weeks though, my house has been kind of on down. It's been we've had some new locks. The windows are lighted properly, and the alarm system was functioning adequately. All of this because my nieces, my girls, my kids were witnesses to brutal attacks of random people on RTD, which is Denver's local transit system. These attacks were done by peers of theirs that went to an adjacent school. And with the investigation, there are 12 kids in jail facing sentences for violent crimes that will haunt them for the rest of their lives. 12 kids, all teenagers between just 15 and 17 that are now facing very likely felony charges that will follow them forever. These kids had so much hate and anger in their hearts that they felt that the best use of their time while riding the light rail home from school every day was to attack and brutally beat people that spoke the wrong word at the wrong time, may have had some kind of a mental illness that caught the attention of these kids, or looked like they had an difference, or maybe just looked at these kids time that the investigation for these incidents was ramping up. We were all, locally, we were also dealing with the shooting at Club Q, as Rev Salmon talked about last week when we explored the power of hope. When I opened up the website today for the United States Department of Justice and looked under the tab for hate crimes, the following articles popped. 1129, there was a co-care sentence against a transgender woman. On 1122, there was an anti-Semitic assailant that guilty to conspiracy to commit hate crimes. Again, on 1122, there were 2 Hawaiian men convicted of hate crimes for racially motivated attack on a white man. On 1121, there was a statement on the shooting at Club Q in Colorado Springs. 1121, there was also an FBI statement on Colorado Springs club shooting. Between 1114 and 1118, there were several statements, workshops, committees that were listed that are rallying against hate crimes in various states. And on 11/7, Washington man pleads guilty to making interstate threats and hate crimes, and the list goes on. And while I was at it, I also looked up the opposite of hate, and expands it. I saw it with love, but indifference. So what happens when we live our life more in indifference instead of showing up in love? Elie Wiesel, who was a Romanian-born American novelist, political activist, and Holocaust survivor of Hungarian Jewish, the opposite of love is not hate, it's indifference. The opposite of art is not ugliness, it's indifference. The opposite of faith is not heresy, it's indifference. The opposite of is not, it's indifference. And according to Dr. Scott Peck, love is the will to extend oneself for the purpose of nurturing one's own or another's spiritual growth. He further explains that love is always either a form of work or a form of courage. To love without extending yourself in either the form of work or courage or lending yourself to indifference? Can you love without engaging yourself in mental or physical activity that's done to nurture the spiritual growth of yourself or others? What about love without ever having to face fear or do something that frightens you? If we're not putting in the work or embracing the courage it would take to do the work to nurture your physical and mental health or spiritual growth, we leave ourselves tied up in a lane of indifference. So I recently celebrated mine, and not one single person acknowledged it in any way, shape, or form. They said that they intended on doing something great for you, but forgot. No work. How would you feel? I've actually had that happen. Up until the last decade or so, that happened very frequently. My ex-husband oftentimes would forget, and I would get a phone call from him the day of while I was at work saying, can you give me your work address? I need to update some insurance forms. My ex-in-laws called me a week late once because we were in the middle of the controversy on the election between Al Gore and George W. And I feel so discouraged and disheartened, and I really feel it don't matter. matter to these people who I hold in such importance and high regard. So, don't you love them without ever playing with them, which is work, or having tough conversations with them? I control what parents do, which is courage. What would happen to love in a relationship if you and your partner were never willing to have discussions when arguments or disagreements came up, which includes work and courage, and rather chose to run from your problems and ignore them altogether? I can tell you from experience, that is a really painful place to be. It is really impossible to make any kind of impact or difference in the world or on another person when with intention only, excuse me, that's a question. Is it really possible to make any kind of impact or difference in the world? Change the world. Intention doesn't change a reality. I find myself landing more in indifference or apathy if I didn't do enough. Hatred that I'm not worthy enough. Hatred that I'll never be what I want, the person that I want to be. Love is as love does. Hate is as hate does. And indifference doesn't do. Both hate and love do, but care is involved. In the case of love, we care for ourselves and others' spiritual growth, so we express it in the form of positive, warm, mindful actions. In the case of hate, we care against ourselves and others' spiritual growth, and so we express it in the form of negative, cold, and vile actions. Indifference is different, though. However, you don't really care for yourself or others. Spiritual growth isn't expressed and is rather the same as it might be for dust that's gathering in the corner of your room, non-existent. In the case of relationships, I'd like to argue that when it comes to love's opposite, both hate and indifference may fill that role equally. So what if we were to challenge ourselves and show up more in love? Here defines as strong affection for another arising of personal tie, attraction based on sexual desire, affection, and tenderness felt by others, affection based on admiration but interest, and assurance. Selfish, loyal, and benevolent concern for the good of another, such as concern for the good of humankind, or a person's adoration for their deity of choice. I also went to 1 Corinthians. And so 1 Corinthians 13, 4-8 says, love is patient, love is kind. It does not envy, it does not boast, it is not proud. It does not dishonor others, it is not self-seeking. It is not easily angered, it keeps no record of wrongs. Love does not delight in evil, but rejoices with the truth. It always protects, always perseveres, never fails. I've had a few incidents this week where I've been excessively frustrated, and the indifference that I had sat in for a while with sitting down with my girls ended up blowing up in the most exponential fashion. So, my girls are witnesses to these RTD assaults, and as a result of that, there are so many things under investigation. Because everybody is watching these days. Everybody has a camera. Emergency services within an instant carried in their pockets. These kids that are under investigation, the videos for most of these attacks that have happened this year have been shared with local authorities. And one of the videos that came up was of my girls. And I got really frustrated with them when picking them up from schools, since I've started driving school to avoid RTD. I felt blindsided when the assistant principal came to my car and told me, "Your girls are in one of these videos." And immediately it was kind of ugly. I started yelling at them, and I yelled at them all the way from the school home, which is about a 20-minute drive. And I don't like yelling. I don't like yelling at all. I don't like being yelled at, but I also do not like yelling. It just creates such anxiety in my nervous system, and so gross and heavy. But I think it was more the object that I was blindsided than it was anything else. And when I was able to really sit down and hear their story about what was going on in the video, they had talked about somebody who was riding RTD, who was smoking meth around them and the baby. And when this person was asked not to smoke meth around the baby, this person blew meth in the face. And the girls got up and tried to move. And I'm sure one of my girls sassed at this woman, because that is what one of my girls is really great at and proud of, that she has available. But this woman grabbed her, and then my niece threw the first punch. And then the other niece is seen on this video, but she thankfully couldn't figure out how to use it. But one of the things that love teaches us is to be patient with some of the people that are less fortunate than ourselves. And this woman, through whatever trial and tribulation in her life, has resorted to using this hard substance to dissociate from the things that are going on. And I feel like it's in these moments where we need to show the most love to our fellow humans. Getting up, just walking away, being kind, even despite the actions that they have given towards us. After I heard the story, I was not frustrated with the girls. I just was without anger, without ego, without frustration, and to be able to back them up and support them in whatever way they need. I moved the girls out here to Colorado from Michigan because they were in a constant state of fight or flight, worried about what was going to happen to them and the amount of not going to show up for them to have their backs and support them. And the last thing I want to do is to be another one of those people in their lives. So when we got home, I asked for everybody. I took their phones because I didn't want them to go to their friends or between each other I really wanted them to just kind of sit and reflect and decompress. And I did the same. I brought back to them. I went to them individually and let them know that I was just worried about them. That I was worried about the circumstances of this whole situation. What happens, between if, they are deemed guilty for something, or what happens if something brutal happens to them and the baby's around and the baby can't defend himself. I really wanted them to lean into their reserves of love for their family, for the baby, for themselves. So going forward, when we live more in the energy of love, our energy resonates at a higher frequency, and we express the qualities of compassion, forgiveness, tolerance, respect, generosity, joy, peace. All that inspires and empowers in his life. The love lifts us up to a higher state of consciousness. We've heard that song, higher. Remember the rest of the words. It didn't sound right. It lifts us up to a higher state of consciousness and frees us from the thoughts and the feelings and actions that minimize and victimize us. Over maybe 15, 20 years ago, I lived in a constant state of victimhood. And with the things that I had endured in my life, I had every right to feel like a victim. But over the years, I've started showing up more for myself. I've started showing myself more of the love that I wished I deserved or wished I had seen from other people. And with that, I grew from this state of constant victimhood into a survivor. And now my work is constantly from a survivor's perspective, and how much more can I grow so that I can show up and give the love that I wish I had to other people, and more so to myself. When living more authentic, gone feelings of fear, judgment, greed, envy, arrogance, and the ego's stubborn need to be right. Have you ever been in an argument with somebody where the things that they are saying are just downright BS? And you know it. You can prove it with factual evidence. But they are set in such a state of needing to be right that you just have to say, okay, I can't argue with you. We're just going to have to agree to disagree. In this state of showing up more authentically in love, vexations of the spirit, or where we feel flawed, shine brighter. We become the magnet attracting our good. Living in love may be a simple concept to understand, but it can be our most difficult challenge. Living in love means keeping our ego or our personality in check as we relate to people and circumstances from the higher perspective of love. Our ego easily indulges us in the dramas of life. We invest emotional and physical energy in advancing the ego through superiority. But our soul self is wise. It experiences life, but is not consumed by it. It recognizes life as the unfolding of a divine plan, the evolving of spirit from within. The soul self trusts that all things work together for good. When we live more in the spirit of love, all aspects of life are connected, and that each have potential and the responsibility to become whole. There's a saying, within trauma survivors circles, that you are not responsible for the trauma that you have endured, but you are responsible for your own healing. And connection means that every presence on this planet, whether that be human, animal, plant, or mineral, is a unique expression of love, and that we are all interdependent. There is no separation. We are all connected, and what if one is wholeness, on the other hand, means being complete as an individual and in harmony and balance at all levels of our being, body, mind, and spirit. To be whole means to gather up and heal our fragmented pieces, parts of ourselves that are disconnected from spirit or our souls. Our brokenness is often due to the feelings of unworthiness and pain from the past. Living in love keeps us focused in the present moment with ourselves and all there is. Some people are born with a very high limit of love, and others are fortunate enough to grow up in it. Most of us, however, myself included, have considerable overcoming to do in order to fully experience it. This overcoming is the process of personal information, or the latter is the life that I have lived. So in embracing love, most of you don't know, but I practice a form of relationship choice called polyamory. At its most basic level, it means many loves. Meaning, I can have multiple partners, and I do not differentiate the love that I share with one person versus the love that I share with another person. All love. And it shows up in whatever form or that organically takes place. I don't write off all of my friends or my family or people that I adore and care for because I am in a relationship with one person. Expand that relationship, and I live in love with multiple relationships to varying degrees. Some of my closest friends, I actually call them my queer platonic life partners, meaning they are friends that are so endeared to me that I consider them partners in my life, and I plan to be there for them in one capacity or another for the rest of my life, even though there is no sexual or romantic component to that relationship. And within polyamory, there is this term that I absolutely love and live by, and it's called compersion. Or another family member, or even some random stranger experience love and joy that brings a light to them. I feel like in those moments, I feel connected to that person, and I feel part of their glow, and it brings me immense joy and allows for me to show up in more love in my life. I love the word compersion. Living in love is our birthright, and it directs the unfolding of our life's passion. It sets the intention for every day, the agenda for every interaction, the prescription for every ill, and the expectation for every circumstance. In Reiki, one of the ways that I show up in Reiki for energy work is to channel universal love energy into myself and help heal others from physical and emotional ailments by allowing some of the energy, love energy I show up and use every day. state of being at the height of love and light to us. This is the law of action. What you send out into the universe sends back to you. I'm living proof of this. Once I decided to get out of that space of victimhood and take control of my own healing and love, my circles started to fill with people who were just as compassionate and loving as I am. And that's a wonderful feeling to be surrounded by that. And because love requires our ego to surrender to the soul self, we get out of our own way. We stop self-sabotaging. We stop tripping over our own insecurities and flaws. Our path is cleared. We encounter people and situations that inspire us and guide us toward the fulfillment of our potential and passion. We are in the flow of life, and our role shifts from reactor to co-creator, and we become empowered. And you know when you're living more in love because you can feel it. It feels like a natural high. You know, here we have a concert venue called Red Rocks, and it is one of the most amazing concert venues I've ever been to in my life. And it's made out of all these natural red sandstone formations. It's gorgeous. And the acoustics, the natural acoustics, are perfect for having concerts there. And during this time, there's a large gathering of people that go out there before sunrise on December 21st with all the noisemakers and all the energy, and they bring their hot breakfasts and their hot cider and coffee and all of that. And as the sun rises, everybody just starts making noise with everything that brought and hooting and just hugs and all the love and the energy that you experience while in this is so engulfing. You walk away feeling high and like you feel like your pains are gone. You feel like you're on the highest love. It's one of my most favorite days of the year. And then we also know that with that, the return is coming, because then we're getting into longer days and we're going into my favorite part of the year, which is spring and summer. But when you're living in love like this, it's a feeling of connection, of wholeness, of lightness and expansion. Meditation, miracles in nature, live love, live fear into judgment or self-righteousness. And no matter how spiritual we think we are still having the human experience of trials and tribulations, progress, and relapses. And you know what? That's all right. We don't have to deny or condemn our human vulnerabilities. The goal is to be prayer. We can do it with meditation, inspirational reasons, assist others. These are all excellent ways to attract connection, wholeness, and love. Other strategies may include seeking the good in everyone and everything, bringing trust to adversity, being grateful for all that we have, taking the high road in any conflicted situation or relationship, creating a sacred space of peace and beauty in which to renew, and caring for all living things. Love is the elixir for joy and the end. Love lifts us from our limitations to our potential. Love transcends. It transmutes differences and differences. Love heals. Love is the vibrant spirit. Love is the Alpha and the Omega. Learning to live love is why we are here. It is our individual and collective purpose. It is the secret of life that is hiding in plain view. When we live in love, we receive the love. I have a couple of readings, and then I'm going to share a blessing, and that'll be it for the day. This one is titled On Love by Khalil Gibran in The Prophet. Love has no other desire but to fulfill itself. But if you love and must needs have desires, let these be your desires. To melt and be like a running brook that sings its melody to the night. To know the pain of too much tenderness. To be wounded by our own understanding of love, and to bleed willingly and joyfully. With a winged heart and give thanks for another day of loving. To rest at the noon hour and meditate love's ecstasy. To return home at eventide with gratitude. And then to sleep with a prayer for the beloved in your heart and a song of praise on your lips. And then I have Praises to Love by Rumi, who is actually one of my favorite mystics. It is love that brings happiness to people. It is love that gives joy to happiness. My mother didn't give birth to me. That love did. 100 blessings and praises to that love. A traditional pagan wedding blessing. Share this with, and especially, I was actually just sharing with Rev Sam that I have a great joy for officiating weddings because I'm able to experience that love, and it's such a rewarding experience for me that it carries through so much of the year, even when times feel dark. Above you are the stars, below you are the stones. As time passes, remember, like a star, should your love be constant. Like the earth, should your love be firm. Oh, I guess this is actually another reading. I have a Wiccan pig. Anyway. Possess one another, yet be understanding. Have patience with each other. For storms will come, and they will go quickly. Be free in giving affection and of warmth. And let the ways or words and unenlightened give you unease. And let not the ways, for the old gods are with you, now and always. And something really quick that I was reminded of here. It says, be free in giving of affection and warmth. I've heard many times over in my life, from different perspectives, don't say I love you to somebody so quickly. Hold on to it for the perfect time. Don't say it within a day. Don't say it within a few weeks. Don't say it within a few. And my response to that is bullshit. Say it as quickly as you feel the urge bubble up into your body. Tell everybody that you love them the moment that you realize it. This waiting to say it because it seems, because of societal norms or what have you, seems like wasted energy because you're putting this love and energy into somebody and you're not telling them. What if something happens to them the next day and you never got a chance to express that love to them? So now I have a wicked for a wedding. Laugh and dance and drink the wine outpoured. In the dear green earth, blessed by the Lady and the Lord. May both be consecrated with the strength of the skies, with the brightness of the moon and the warmth of the sun, the thunder of fire and the speed of lightning, the depth of the sea, the vigor of the wind, the stability of earth and the endurance of rock. Like fruit in the summer, your love is bursting forth. United by the quarters east, south, west, and north, may your love grow without end as the sacred circle that is a wedding ring. And with this, I am actually going to energy life. There is a symbol of the power contained, a true relationship that is patient and kind, generous and trusting, and protects and perseveres through each season of life. Blessed be the day, today and every day, and may joy fill every room with sunlight or with rain. So in conclusion, show love whenever and the brightness of your smile. It could very well make the difference.
Thank you, Joella. How important the message is to explore love, embrace love, choose love. And I will agree with her with the work that we do outside of our church work here is we officiate weddings, and there's nothing more perfect than that moment of seeing two people who love each other and say, hopefully, I want to spend the rest of my life with you. I'm not saying it always works out that way, but there are times we hope for that. We always want that. So, but this was the second Sunday of Advent. We lit the second candle, and we'll work through to the fifth candle, 4 weeks, and then the fifth candle. So, Joella's message reminds me of one of the commands of Jesus to his followers, and it was just simple. Love one another. You may not understand all of the aspects of love that are out there, but there's a simple part of it that says, love one another. And he said, by this everybody will know that you are my followers, if you love each other. And that's our challenge here at Amazing Love Sanctuary, is that you learn and we all learn together and explore how to love each other. So if you need something from us this week, on Facebook, on Messenger, on email, you're more than happy to email us. This is kind of the end of the year in December, and you'll see going forward we'll put out our QR code so you can make year-end donations to Amazing Love Sanctuary, because we really need them. We're really terrible at asking for money. We just really are bad at it, and so it's easier for me to and for Joella, we just pay for it out of our pocket, but we need your help. Not that we're not a big cathedral. We're just a simple little chapel, and but we do have a vision to extend love and passion for that. So if you need us this week, we're always available. Please reach out to us. And so from me and Joella and everyone else, we love you and thank you for joining us. Please share this video, and if you'll go over there and shut that down, then share the video, and then we're on Facebook and anything else. God, have a great day.